Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Cantor has a little bit of a cold, so we're going to be a little distant. We've learned through this pandemic that one of the ways that we manage all sorts of illness is to just, be a little bit separate from each other. And we hope you feel better.
Thank you.
And it is nothing to be concerned about. He has preschoolers. And we've all been there. Well, not all of us, but many of us have been there with illnesses. And so we come this evening, we were just talking, Cantor and I, we come with whatever we're bringing tonight. Maybe a little cold, maybe a little tired, maybe a little bit, temperature cold. Maybe we've been running pretty hard this week, or maybe we're just, not quite 100%. On the other side of that line, maybe we're feeling great tonight. Maybe we are here because we are just fully in the world and our lives and whatever we're bringing. And so, however you arrive for this Shabbat, you are welcome. You, in the entirety of who you are and where you are on this Shabbat, you are part of this sacred kahal, this sacred community. So welcome. We're going to start this evening on page 16.
Page 16, with the Zamru Ladonai. Yai lai, yai lai, 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 lai. Yai lai, lai, yai lai, 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 lai. Yai lai, lai, yai lai, yai lai, lai. Yai lai, 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 lai. Yai lai, lai, yai lai, 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 lai. Yai lai, yai lai, lai, lai. Yai lai, lai, yai lai, 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 lai. Yai lai, yai lai, 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 lai. Zamru Ladonai, Zamru Ladonai bechinor. בכינור וקול זמרה, בחצוצרות קול שופר. הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה. נהרות תמחה וכף, יחד הרים ירננו לפני אדוני, לפני אדוני בכינור, לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים במישרים. זמרו לאדוני, זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור וקול זמרה, בחצוצרות וקול שופר. הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה. נהרות תמחה וכף, יחד הרים ירננו.
I'd like to invite Kristen Tweedy to the Bima to help us light our Shabbat candles, page 3 and then page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you, Kristen. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Kiddush on page 5. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu Zikaron lemase vereshit Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh Zecher letziat mitraim Kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Please be seated. On page 6, at the bottom of the page, we'll read responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Page 18.
This setting of Kol Adonai comes from our Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms, of course, and the text spans pages 18 and 19. We'll move through the whole text, and then following that, we'll go on to page 22 for Tzadikat Tamar. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai beharat kodesh, kol Adonai, 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 kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hiri, Adonai al mayim rabim, al mayim rabim, rabim, kol Adonai, kol Adonai, kol Adonai, kol Adonai, kol Adonai, kol Adonai, kol Adonai. Adonai b'koach. Kol Adonai b'koach. Kol Adonai b'hadar. Kol Adonai shover arazim. Vayshaper Adonai et arzei halvanon. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Vayarkidem kemo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo reimi. Kol Adonai chotzev lavot esh. Kol Adonai yachil midbar. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh. Kol Adonai cholel ayalo. Vayechesof ye'aro. Ufnechalo kulo komer kavo. Together. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Yai lai lai lai, 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 yai lai lai lai. Adonai lamabul yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'amo yitein. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Page 22, in the middle of the page. Tzadikat amar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun besevat deshenim verananim iyu le'agid ki yashar Adonai tzuri tzuri velo avlata bo.
On page 9. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. On page 28, we rise for Baruch Hu.
Lai 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 lai, yai lai yai lai 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 lai, yai lai yai lai 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 lai, yai lai yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai yai lai 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 lai, yai lai yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai yai lai 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 lai, yai lai yai lai 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 lai.
Together on page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Page 32.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu lemadeta, Otanu lemadeta. Akein Adonai Eloheinu v'shofbeinu, U'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם בבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 41. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Now I'll do it in the key that I intended to do it. Sorry about that. Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Torah tehilot, oh seifele, Torah tehilot, oh seifele. Malchutecha ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים. אדוני la 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 la. Ichamocha ba'elim Adonai, v'ichamocha edar v'kodesh, Torah tehilot, osei chele, Torah tehilot, osei chele.
Continue with the prayer called Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu is a prayer that we be sheltered in our dark times, in the times when we feel afraid, when we feel alone, when things weigh down upon us, that we will find God's sheltering presence in those times, the shelter, the sukkah of shalom, the shelter of peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Esharon V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim Ufros aleinu Sukat shelomecha V'tachnenu beitza tova milfanecha V'hoshienu leman shemecha. 2/3 the way down the page. Ufros aleinu sukat shelomecha ufros aleinu
Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We rise for Tefillah, page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agitei latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagipor v'hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, בחיי החול. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממיד ומחייב ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please be seated. On page 57, together at the bottom of the page. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha, b'yir'ah na'avod. On page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lehodot. On page 60, Shalom Rav.
We'll offer a little bit of a different Shalom Rav this evening. We'll lead into our silent prayer as we normally do. But this melody this evening is borrowed from a jazz composer by the name of McCoy Tyner, and the tune is called Search for Peace. So we've taken that melody, McCoy Tyner's Search for Peace, and I've adapted the words of Shalom Rav. The beginning of the melody is a soaring sort of plead, if you will. To me, the middle section sort of vacillates back and forth in that search, if you will. So I'll sing the tune through once, and then our musicians are going to offer their prayer, and I'd like to invite you to pray whatever words are in your heart, whatever your search for peace is this evening. And then we'll conclude with the melody once again. This is Search for Peace. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Lamecha Tasim Le'olam Ki Ata Lechol HaShalom, Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Lechol HaShalom V'tov beinecha levarech et amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום, שלום רב וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום,
We ask God's blessing for the members of our community this Shabbat who are sick, and we pray that they will be returned to health and to wholeness. In particular, we think of Patricia Abend, Nathaniel Agan, Shelley Blass Bernstein, Cindy Blake, Gary Bolmash, Etta Mindel Batchana, Michelle Connor, Sherry Einhorn, David Elkis, Bob Fitchett, Elaine Gammerman, Lynn Garrison, Roseanne Gerstel, Harold Ginsberg, Claire Goldstein, Mitchell Henderson, Bonnie Jacobson, Shannon Jeter, Joan Kahn, Arnold Katz, Rachel Letterman, Piper Levine, Barbara Kinberg, Lenny Kinland, Arnold Lerner, Allison Latofsky, Janet Livingston, Leah Kyla Batsimova David, Shana Max, Carmen Moore, Jamie Raskin, Yitzchak Mordechai ben Sarah Rivka V'Shalom Shachna, Bob Sachs, Susan Samuels, Sarah Rachel Bat Fredel, Ruth Subert, Caron Sherman, Elizabeth Smith, Amy Sponseller, Peter Street, Ruth Vernay, Catherine Vecchio, Trudy Yohe, Leslie Waldman, Steve Weinberg, Arlene Wiener, Marshall Wendell, and Autumn White. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, O God, from whom healing flows. And we say together, Amen. I've recently had a couple of conversations about a minyan, the minimum number of traditionally men that you need to have an official prayer service, that you need to say Kaddish in that prayer service. And in these conversations with members of our congregation, I've sort of reiterated that, number one, we count women, right? Especially if I'm the one leading the service, because that's just weird if we don't. And number two, that in fact we don't require a minyan in our community. So if we were at a Shiva house and we only had 9 people or 9 Jewish people, we would still go ahead and have our service, have the prayer service. And that is all true and very important in our Reformed community. Nevertheless, I think there's something very valuable in a minyan and in the idea of the critical mass of coming together, of being a community in number and in presence with each other. And I'm thrilled that there are more of us in the room than I thought when I first walked into the sanctuary. And then in fact, we have a minyan several times over in the room and of course also on streaming. But I want to share a commentary on this week's Torah portion that I think really brings out some of the meaning in this idea of minyan. The verse that is being commented on here is at the end of Jacob's lives. He brings all of his sons together to tell them what he thinks is going to happen in their lives. And Torah says, "Assemble and hearken, O sons of Jacob, hearken to Israel your father." And the commentary, Rabbi Kalanimus Kalman Epstein of Krakow, he says, this verse is completely incomprehensible, which I just love. Like, to start a commentary with that, it's just great. But, he says, and I'm not even sure why he thinks it's so incomprehensible, because to me it's pretty clear, Jacob's sons gathering around him to listen to what he's going to say at the end of his life. But Rabbi Epstein goes on to say, but we can clarify as follows. When the holy flocks of sheep gather to the tzaddik, he is a Hasidic rabbi, understanding that the people come to listen to the great sage, to the tzaddik, the key aspect of their gathering is that they are in full unity. They should all have only one goal, to find God. They are together in unity with one goal, he says. And then he quotes the Talmud, saying, now the Shekhinah, God's presence, dwells among all gatherings of 10 Jews. And surely if there are more than 10, then there the Shekhinah, God's presence, is even more completely revealed. So what is the crux of Rabbi Epstein's argument here? That in gathering, being completely unified in purpose, they actually cause God's presence to be in the midst of them. But here is why he tells us that this is true. The Talmud just states it as a fact. Rabbi Epstein says, in this context, each person will listen to his fellow, and then he will see himself as small in his own eyes, and he will want to hear some Torah from his fellow, some small teaching of how to serve God, how to find God, and then this is what everyone will feel. So as we gather here tonight, apparently on a first read of this commentary, we should all be doing what? Teaching each other Torah. We should turn to each other and tell each other how to find God. Raise your hand if you know the answer to that. I don't see any hands going up in the air, but don't worry. I think that's actually a surface reading, a simplistic and incorrect reading of what Rabbi Epstein here is trying to say. Because I think what he's trying to say is not that we would literally be telling each other bits of Torah or teaching each other something in a literal way, but rather that in our gathering in presence, we learn something from one another. We take from one another some deeper resonance. Think about the difference between singing alone in your shower and singing next to someone else. Think about the difference between, forgive me, sitting at home listening to this service and sitting next to, behind, in front of someone, as we all, in unity, as Rabbi Epstein says, focus toward a central endeavor. Think about the difference simply of doing something together with other human beings that you might also do alone. We know that we are attuned to each other. And in particular, what Rabbi Epstein here suggests is that we should bring awareness to our attunement to one another, that we can even lift that level of learning from each other to another height by being focused on the unity of the gathering. The minyan is not the place where one of us teaches another of us, even the tzaddik, to his sheep, what Torah is, how to reach God, how to bring God into our midst. Instead, Rabbi Epstein suggests that it is simply our presence with one another, in prayer, in connection, in attention and awareness, that brings God's presence into our midst. The verse says, "Assemble and hearken, O sons of Jacob." It says, "Come together," and then it says, "Hearken." Listen, pay attention. A minyan is not only the presence of 10, but the attentive and the aware and the present presence of 10, and God willing, even more. So this evening, I am grateful for the way that we attend one to another, and grateful for the Torah that I learn from you, with your presence, your attention, your awareness. Shabbat Shalom. We continue on page 282 with Aleinu. Please rise.
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
On page 291, meditation as we prepare for Mourner's Kaddish. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one, whose life, now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. We take a moment of silence. We remember this Shabbat in the period of Shloshim, the 30 days. Ellen Stone Callens, Phyllis Siegel, Hortense Brooks, Scott Frank, Gerald Loeb, Martin Neff, Manya Smith, Mendert Lerner, Trudy Magrill, and Barbara Allen. We remember the yahrzeits as well of George Austrager, Daniel Bacall, Martha Bainman, Alan Bernkrant, Sylvia Beezer, Anne Branch, Mark Brower, Betty Butler, Frank Kaplan, Melvin Karp, Mark Dogoloff, Belle Fensterwald, Morton Finifter, Larry Goldschmidt, Alan Greenberg, Milton Haas, Olivia Himmelfarb, Sidney Hurwitz, Anna Hyman, Estelle Kahn, Melvin Karsh, Judith Kishter, Deborah Levinson, Carlin Lippman, Elizabeth Lowenstein Lane, Sidney Laurie, Nathan Newberger, Francis Perlmeter, E. Leonard Piven, Ann Plesser, David Plesser, Lawrence Rosenfield, Mark Rosenfield, Rose Schnapper, Louis Schumann, Minnie Schwartz, Israel Shapiro, Frank Solomon, Shirley Solomon, Michael Spencer, Henry Strauss, Pearl Swirsky, Walter M. Thomas, Helene Trosch, Margie Juarez, E. David Weinberg, Bertha Weisberg, and Natalie Wolf. Invite those who are in mourning and those observing yahrzeit to rise first. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294, and those who wish to stand with them in sacred community, please do so now. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach irutei ve'amlich malchutei. b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'la'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha berichu. Le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimramav, Uyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may all our loved ones' memories be for blessing. Amen. Please be seated.
Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru.
I'd like to invite Lori Duhan to share some announcements. I don't think you do.
Hi and Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Each Saturday morning, Torah Talk meets in Zoom at 9 a.m., followed by our Shabbat service at 10:30. On the first Shabbat of the month at 10 a.m., we have Tat Shabbat in the Strauss Social Hall, followed by, followed by playtime, that shouldn't be that hard, in the BHC gym. This Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m., meet the current Hufberger Gallery artist, our own Julie Wall, Education Director. When you walk out, look, her work is amazing. Just look at it when you walk out. Mark your calendar for Tuesdays at 7 p.m. in January. Winter Nights on Park Heights returns with engaging discussions on a variety of topics. All sessions will be Zoom only. Our next session will be January 10th, led by Rabbi Sachs Cohn. Next Friday is New Member Family Shabbat. We will honor and welcome all of our new members during our regular Family Shabbat service. New members can meet and schmooze with other BHC members during the sponsored dinner and tour the building. Dinner requires an RSVP and is generously sponsored by the Lois Rosenfeld Caring Fund. Thank you to our ushers. Following services, join us for an Oneg Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks, Lori. I want to really encourage those of you who are not new members to come next week to welcome the new members. I won't call you the old members because that might feel, mean to some of you. But really come and be part of the community and welcome all the people who've joined our congregation in the last year or so.
We'll conclude on page 323 with Debbie Friedman's Shalom Aleichem. Please rise and join with us.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bochem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Shalom
Here we go.
שובכם לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שלום עליכם, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, amotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
On this Shabbat, in our gathering together, may we learn from one another, from our listening, from our attention, from our presence, how to bring God into our midst. Shabbat Shalom.
Very scary. Sorry about that. I had a stupid attack. No. It's hard to say that's him too, and then you just go forward. So, yeah, this is me. Yeah, look at that. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Yeah. How you feeling?